Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Now, today's episode, I wanted to reach back and touch on a subject that I've gone on at length about in multiple different videos. Actually, that's true for so many subjects across pretty much all of my videos so far. But specifically, I wanted to touch on the idea of learning about so many different subjects so that way you have a broad array of knowledge to draw on to have different ideas for different scenarios and creating different adventures for your players to go through. Now, it's not necessary that you learn in exacting depth of every last detail of every subject that you come across. Far from it. You don't have to go that far. Just even a tertiary knowledge, a basic understanding of what different subjects are about or how they function, can be more than enough to help you put together compelling stories, interesting stories, and different stories for your players to go through. Um, for myself, one thing that I really like to draw from is history. And history, in and of itself, just has so many different subjects that can be touched upon: economics, politics, warfare. Uh, Honestly, politics and warfare are kind of the same thing. Just, warfare is an extension of politics. But, how different societies and cultures function, mythology, religion, both of which can be the same thing, and philosophy. And then, of course, I touched on economics there, but then you have the different intricacies of how businesses function and the different functions between different businesses. I mean, a stark example of this would be one of the more recent 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons books to have come out, and that was the Acquisitions Incorporated book, which provided a different kind of feel and flavor for 5th edition because it brought uh, the flavoring of the world of high finance and business management to Dungeons and Dragons. The that dragon is not just lording itself and maintaining a hoard of gold. It's the CEO of a major sprawling corporation, a business that kept bringing in gold to add to the massive stockpile it maintained. I mean, there's so many different little things in there. The book is fantastic. I absolutely love it. And nothing has made me want to get into playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons more. But just that one thing turned into this large, sprawling book that, I say large, sprawling book. It's a good sized supplemental book for the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons system, but it touches on the different character classes, different starting packages, even job occupations that can have an impact on gameplay. And then there's numerous adventure scenarios and NPCs packed into the book. And that's just the world of corporate finance, corporate business management. I mean, and there's so many different things that you can draw from, and so many of us have knowledge of so many different things, some weird particular little offshoot things too that can be used to help enhance and enrich our games and our game worlds. And since I'm banging on about this subject, I thought I would give you an example of something that I've been working on, and of course, as I said before, have worked on and mentioned through so many different other episodes, and that is the steampunk high fantasy setting that I have been building for numerous years, lost the notes for, and then have been trying to reconstruct here in this book. Not as far as I would like. Most of it's still wandering around up in my head there, and I'm constantly adding new details both to the page and dedicating to some section of brain cells that should probably be going towards other real world things. But you know what? This is just who I am and what I'm stuck doing anyway. So I'll give you this example now. Maybe someday I turn this into a book that I can sell, or maybe it's something I put out online for free for everybody else to enjoy. For now, though, it is take what information you want, adapt it, use it. Uh, I copyright it later, it'll be something a little bit different. Anyways, here we go. For the steampunk fantasy setting, the world is Golnea. Year 1321 on the continent of Kildara. The major powers on this continent, at least in the sections that I've worked up so far, are the Corvarian Empire, which is predominantly human, Three Tusk Hold, which is orcs, Silver Spire Refugees, which are the dwarves, the Kaldan City State, which is human, Zoroastrian Republic, human, the Plains Runner Lands, wild elves, the Iron Falls Mountain Home, dwarves, duh, the Sedalco Empire, hobgoblins, and the Duvalian Othar, high elves. I've even worked out the different months, though I've scratched a lot of those out and am renaming them, along with the zodiacs that the players roll randomly for and will give them different bonuses, minor ones, but certainly not insignificant things. Certainly absolutely handy to have at first level, but I'm going to add in some certain penalties to go along with it. But most importantly is the history that I've worked up so far. I was foolish and wrote down recent history, the year's 1321. I went back to 862. That's how silly I am. But this section here provides a lot of crux and background for the recent events that the players are dealing with, and was kind of the opening thing that I threw at the initial two players that I had going through everything. 862. The warlord Golgor leads his orc horde to assault the Silver Spire Hold. The king of the Underhold summoned the clans and bade them assemble their throngs of warriors, putting the engineers and the smiths to work, producing only implements of war. 863. The previous occurred towards the end of the year, so in winter, and still started the new year, still winter, but outlying surface towers and redoubts are taken. Most have their underground access tunnels destroyed, but a few are taken, resulting in fierce tunnel fighting. Teams of orcs are able to approach the mountain holds where the horde had previously been repulsed. They scale the cliffs to find and raid the many farms and goat herds, with creating their own accesses along the way. Casualties mount, and trade is thoroughly disrupted. The Golgor horde assaults the mountain yet again. A number of months after sending small teams up, two find success and create a rough trail of ropes to allow their comrades easier ascent and to begin an assault from above. In the 14th of Duranus, 863, the orcs breach the high spires of the Silver Spire holds, sacking noble homes, temples, and sacred forges, bringing a great deal of fine armors, weapons, and metals to manufacture more of the same. Just as important were the blows to morale, hostages taken, and the splits the dwarven armies had to take in order to confront the orc assault behind their lines and behind their strongest redoubts. 18th of Duranus. The Corvarian army arrives in force to honor their alliance with the Silver Spire dwarves, and attack on two flanks, hemming in the orcs' escape routes and allowing the dwarves to take the offensive. 863, 1st of Kyrgyz. The heavy fighting in the upper spires of the hold damaged several manors, in a few instances opening up secret passages or holes in walls and floors, leading to new sections, allowing the orcs to push further down into the mountain kingdom's lower levels. Access to as yet untouched areas past the dwarves' lines of battle leaves them badly flanked, and the fighting is now done house to house, room to room, and the casualties mount ever higher. 3rd of Kyrgyz. The horde outside the Silver Spire mountain fragments under the flanking attacks of the Empire and elements of the Silver Spire clan holds. Some tribes manage a breakout and flee to the surrounding mountains and valleys. Many are rounded up in the fighting. 28th of Kyrgyz. Empire troops assist in clearing the hold in an attempt to retake the Grembarg clan's alchemical labs, a cataclysmic mixture of occurs and a poisonous fog flows through the clan hold and into ventilation systems, killing thousands. The dwarves claim it was a callous act on a part of the desperate Golgor. The orcs claim the dwarves triggered the attack rather than see the clan hold remain in orcish hands. Both sides suffer heavy, grievous losses, and the hold remains horrifically poisonous for months after. 8th of Breus. King Rhaegar Ironheart of the Silverspire Hold is slain, leading a daring raid to rescue noble hostages held in the upper levels. His personal guard, the Mithril Towers, meet a furious assault to recover their king's body. The Dwarven nation and the Empire mourn, while it is quickly revealed that the king's eldest son, Belloc, his heir, is amongst the hostages. This throws the issue of Dwarven leadership into question, with many clan lords refusing to march on the orders of peers and rivals. While the fighting doesn't stop, it slows the advance of the dwarves drastically. 29th of Breus. With so much of the Empire's armed forces diverted, trouble begins brewing amongst the Empire's borders. The hobgoblins of the Sedlaco Empire announce several units have gone rogue and engage in organized pillaging throughout the southern lands. Kaldani corsairs begin pillaging Elven and Corvarian trade ships. In the northern reach, giant attacks send the Reachman barbarian tribes south, past the Empire's northern borders. Their warriors seek to stake their claim to new lands and begin carving out territory, demanding tribute from towns that surrender and putting to torch those that resist. The increasing pressures lead to bands of raiders forming, further disrupting trade and the coming harvest season. The orcs that manage to flee begin a guerrilla campaign, attacking supply wagons and harrying the Imperial supply lines. Facing all this, with mounting demands from the White Hallows court of the Empire, General Halbrecht takes a more aggressive lead in rooting out the orcs. Several small units of dwarves are rescued in the process. While keeping their oaths, the debt incurred by the rescue galvanizes the troops into moving and reclaiming their homes, despite their leadership's inaction. 13th of date error that I need to fix there. A council meeting is held to discuss the matter of fully mobilizing the clans again by electing a temporary war leader. The vote goes almost unanimously to the captain of the king's Mithril Tower Guard, Kaureg, Blade of the King, Master of the Sunless Citadel. Due to his guardsmen's oaths to the king superseding any clan loyalties, most dwarf nobles find him an acceptable fit for the interim. Desperate to end the orcish threat and see to the rapidly devolving situation at the Empire's borders, General Halbrecht offers a large reward for the orc warlord Golgor's head, a reward the dwarves promise to match, and double, with the stipulation that hostage casualties must remain minimal. This attracts the attention of many marksmen that fancy themselves capable of slinking through the battle lines and strewn heaps of rubble, but many would-be assassins are captured, their heads mounted on pikes as grim warning to other skulking gutter blades. 15th of Solanus. After dozens are slaughtered with the rush to claim the bounty, a single figure strides into the heart of the joint Empire and Silverspire command, dropping a grisly sight on the map of the hold, the head of Golgor, neck neatly bisected between the second and third vertebra. Dressed in the livery of a Corvarian foot soldier, his name is recorded as Delmic Cooperson. Dwarven scouts report the orc lines are quiet, and the order is given for the troops to advance. While the orcs provide stiff resistance at first, they soon fall into disarray once it's discovered their warlord is expired. A swift rescue is mounted, and the dwarves recover the hostages taken, including Prince Belnoch. Delmic is showered with praise, and the lavish rewards as promised. He disappears in the night once the revelry is over. It is believed that these funds are what gave rise to what is now known as the Crowhaven Assassins, as Delmic reappears infrequently through the next handful of decades, claiming multiple bounties and is cited multiple times, leaving the scenes of various murders, accompanied by a number of other unknown persons. So, it goes quite a bit further and quite a bit longer than the scope of what this video would allow for, but it's that knowledge of history that, understanding how history is recorded, and that history is also fuzzy a bit depending on perspective and motivation, the motivation of the person writing, the time at which the person is writing the text, leaves things a bit, well, in a state where you should be questioning what the author is telling you. And that's what I've tried to put in there. For example, the horrific gas mixture that occurs in the alchemical labs of that one dwarven clan. The hold is horribly poisonous, and both sides, the orcs and the dwarves, have reason to blame one another. Both sides lost incredible numbers of lives in the process of fighting there, and also just as a resulting accident from the fighting. Truth be told, it was probably just something that ended up happening again as a result of the combat. But nobody can really know for sure. The dwarves could very easily have not wanted the orcs to have it and just decided to, fuck it, kill everyone. The orcs for the same thing, or the same reason. They may have just thought, we need to push them back. This is the best way. This is going to kill thousands of them. Do it now. Both sides have reasonable motivation. Both sides have plenty of reason to deny that they were at fault. And that's what you can bring into your campaigns by enriching these worlds. Do you need to go to that level of detail in world building? No, you don't. I'm a crazy person, arguably, and I am building up to maybe not every last nitty gritty little detail. I'm certainly not going to go that J.R. Tolkien route and building the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and crafting whole languages, but understanding how to do that to help create these worlds and that detail, these different cultures, it helps to shape a lot. And it can do so much to create an engaging world for your players to sink their teeth into, and gives you the tools to create different stories and campaign settings. But with that said, what I've done here is not the only thing, and it's certainly by no means unique. I'm sure that there are many other DMs and storytellers out there, people who run games, that have offered the exact same advice. But I thought I'd do my part and throw out an example there along with it. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, maybe consider going down there and clicking like, or hell, I'd certainly appreciate it if you subscribed in the meantime as well. Also, YouTube will be throwing up some videos here that the algorithm determines that you might enjoy, as well as something that I have done most recently. So go ahead and click on those and go and give them a watch as well. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so much for your time, and you folks have yourselves a good night.